Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. Black excellence, black beauty, and black pride. Black power from all diasporas coincide. Progressive truth and regression eventually collide. May the beauty of the people no longer be set aside. May the black queen's grace continually mesmerize the millions who couldn't see it when looking into her eyes. And the black man's plight no longer be the disguise. Oppression, emasculation, they wanna castricize him. Take him away from the black queen, put him inside prison for slave labor, he institutionalized. Wondering on the outside, is she willing to ride? Is she willing to ride? Is she willing to fight for the love, even despite the fact that he doing time? Love that conquers all will never fade with time. If she don't choose the love that appreciates every life, his flame might get dim and he may eventually.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Urban Impact Show. We are excited to be back. Voting, we're living in a time now where voting has become very destitute. We're living in a time where people have not considered voting as their power, but voting is definitely your power. We have a runoff election coming up here in the city of Des Moines, Iowa on December 3rd. For those who do not know, runoff elections happen when during a general election, one candidate does not receive over 50% of the vote, which then forces the top two candidates to go a month later into what is known as a runoff election. And today on the Urban Impact Show, we have brought those candidates here so that they can answer questions and talk to you about their vision and their future for this city. And we are excited to have them on this show today. But we really need you to get out and vote on December 3rd. And as we continue this process, please remember, share this video. Invite your friends and family to watch because you're tuned in to the Urban Impact Show.
And I am super excited that we are back. We haven't been able to chat with you guys for a little while. We're taking a little time to plan and step back, make sure we offer you quality programming. And your local elections are very important. Local elections impact our everyday lives, from things like the filling of potholes to jobs and businesses being stimulated in our communities. While 36% of your tax dollar, whether you vote or not, 36% of your tax dollar goes to support your local government. And so you should make sure that your voice is heard for that 36%. Now, we have improved. You know, a couple shows ago, we talked about the school board election, and we were in single digits with that prior. We've had some previous things go on where we vote for our local candidates as well as our school board at the same time. We've improved our turnout. Rob is talking right now, and that's distracting me. We've improved our turnout to about 20% approximately, you know, and what we have coming is super important. We have some candidates that are going to be involved in a runoff election, and I think that 20% is definitely a come up from the 12, but we can do better. We in Des Moines have the opportunity to vote for our next mayor, our next Ward 2 representative, and our next council member at large. And so joining us, our first guest is Mayor Frank County. He has been the mayor of Des Moines for some time now and has seen Des Moines go through several transitions. Our recent surge with our economy, with downtown and jobs, and just seeing our city grow, you know, kind of from a kid to a teenager size type thing going on. Mayor County, welcome to the Urban Impact Show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe 1 minute. Tell us a little bit about who you are and why you are seeking re-election.
Well, I was born and raised in Des Moines, as you kind of hinted at. I went to grade school. I went to Callahan Junior High School. I went to Roosevelt High School.
Right,
and so I was a Rough Rider.
Yes.
And then I went up the road to Iowa State University, and then I went into the military. I served in the Signal Corps, 234 Signal, headquarters company, Red Bull Division, during the Vietnam conflict. We did not ever get our division did not ever go to Vietnam. We served stateside, and we did guard work in around floods and all that kind of stuff around Iowa, but we were ready.
Yeah.
Any rate, my life has been around family. We, we had a family business. My dad brought me in. He said, we've had a business here for a really long time, and you need to give back to your community. It isn't just about what you take from it, it's what you give to it. And it's about all of us working together. And so that's sort of, how I was raised, and I take that same passion for how I look at business and how we serve people to local government. And we've made some promises. We've talked about expansion of street work. We're going to do $300 million worth of road reconstruction.
Yeah.
We've upped our pothole work with our new Public Works Director and new equipment and new materials and an app, by the way, where last year we did 6,000 potholes. Now we're 16,000 potholes.
My DSM Mobile, right? You can report those.
Yeah, exactly. So go take a picture. You guys, everybody can be part of the solution and not just complain about it. Let's work together. By the way, they guarantee, Jonathan says we'll get them fixed 24 to 72 hours. And if you don't, I suggest everybody give me a call. I'm waiting for that call because I want to tell Jonathan, we slipped up on that one, but I haven't yet. So at any rate, that's been fun. But we want to move all that forward. We have plans. We have Plan DSM that looks at where people live, where people work, how we get them from where they work to where they live for the next 30, 40 years, what kind of infrastructure improvements we have to support that. We have Move DSM, which is all about our streets and roads that I touched on just a minute ago. We're going to add 180 miles of sidewalks in and around, safe ways for everybody, all ages. We want to have an age-friendly city, whether they're 6 years old or 96 years old. Everybody deserves to have safe ways, safe sidewalks. So we have become an age-friendly city. We're one of the first 3 cities in the country to become age-friendly, and we received that designation last year. It's so exciting in the work that we're doing. We want to move it forward. Our local option sales tax is in place, and so with that, we made some promises. We went to the community. That's what my whole tenure in office has been about. Going to neighborhoods, going to churches, going to one-on-ones, hundreds of meetings every year. I want to hear what people think. How do we work together? How do we plan together? How do we create a city that everybody loves and wants to live here? And by the way, raise a family, and let's hope our kids and grandkids want to live here too.
That brings up a really good question, Mayor, because, there are some opportunities where I believe, the Urban Impact Show, we're really focused on people of the urban.
Absolutely.
And so what we're talking about,
People of the urban.
People of the almost like
Urban community.
almost like Game of Thrones, the North remembers.
Who's on the throne?
Yeah, that's the question.
Watch the throne.
And so we, there's a group of people who feel disengaged. There's a group of people who feel disenfranchised. There's a group of people who feel like, their city has not really worked for them, or that they don't have a real voice. So one of the questions on the sheet that we asked was, how do you plan on involving these residents in the decision-making process of what's to come? I hear you speak of $300 million worth of road work and other opportunities that we're doing. How many of those dollars are going into urban neighborhoods? How are they being impacted, and how do you intend on including them in putting them into this process?
Well, as we look at that budget, some people say we put a lot of money into downtown. That budget, that $300 million, let's say $30 million of it a year is going into neighborhoods. Only $500,000 is going into the downtown neighborhood. That is a separate issue. We want to have, and as we declared our city a compassionate city, we want to find more ways to reach out and connect. And that's why we did Bridging the Gap. How do we lift people up? How do we connect people with opportunity, with training, with all that? And how do we do it not just on a one at a time, but everyday basis? So whether it's through our Civil and Human Rights Commission or whether it's our new effort to improve abundance and opportunity for all citizens, whether they be immigrants, whether they be everyday citizens, whether they be refugees. Let's connect them to services, whether it be language, interpreters, healthcare, job training. I mean, people who come here from Africa that I have met that said, I used to be a physician, but now they don't qualify.
Yeah.
So how do we connect them to training, whether it's through DMAC, whether it's through Des Moines University, whether it's Grandview? How do we connect people to opportunity and training and get them back into their life's passion, and rather than working in a packing plant? Also,
how do
by
we
the
go
way,
get them?
well, and so what we're trying to do through the city and through our Civil and Human Rights Commission is give them a vehicle to connect to. Plus, we had a former public information officer at the city. We had a thing called Listen DSM.
Yeah.
And
Speak Up DSM.
so we wanted to show people how they can connect with the city, whether it's through Facebook, whether it's through Twitter, whether it's through emails, but don't have anybody feel hesitant to call the city and reach out. We want to be there for everybody.
Will they be heard?
Yes. And if they're not, I want them to call me directly, because that's what I've been doing all these years and why we wrote the Compassionate City Ordinance. We're here for everybody.
You talked a little about bridging the gap. Tell us a little bit more about that. I know that was the Civil and Human Rights Office, police, and I think your office and city manager's office, and you held these events at the library. Can you tell us a little bit more about bridging the gap?
It was even more extensive than that, Shekinah. We went into neighborhoods, we went into high schools, we spent a 3 hours at North High School talking to students about their concerns, about opportunity, how they can be somebody in their life. What is it that we can have? What do they get out of school? What is it after school? Are they prepared for life? Are they prepared for a career? Are they prepared for higher education? Mm-hmm. How do we work? How do we connect them to opportunities? We went into neighborhoods, north, south, east, west, had about 16, 18 original meetings, and then as you may remember, they came back with lots of ideas. Mm-hmm. And of course, then
almost 30 some ideas, and you worked them all the way down to 6, I believe.
Well, I think it started out at 9. Joshua Barr and the Civil Human Rights Commission put them in categories.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And said, let's boil them down. Yeah. And then we had a couple more meetings, one up at the Grub Y and the other at the downtown library, where we said, all right.
I was at both of those.
Yeah. Everybody participates. Now, out of these 9, take your top 3 picks. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and then let's score it. And so what are we moving? And we have really felt good about that civic engagement process and everybody. We didn't dictate to the citizens how it was going to work or what was going to happen. We wanted them to be part of it. Yeah. And I think when citizens feel like they've had that voice, however, to your point earlier, did we get enough outreach where everybody felt like they had seen it? I mean, I still run across some people who say, I didn't know you did that. And so it's an ongoing process. The commission is going to work on it. My office is going to continue working on it. And we've already implemented the first piece of it. We noticed that there were a lot of complaints about source of income. Mm-hmm. And whether they're renting or whether they're purchasing or whatever. We especially restrict any source of income questions, especially on rentals, that they would have, and they have rights and full support to come to the Civil Human Rights Commission and to the city to work on how do we move forward.
Yeah. So here's one question.
I think it's my turn for a question.
Is it?
Oh, was it? I just did one.
Yeah, you just did one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. It's your turn.
It absolutely. Boy,
how's a Game of Thrones work?
She's so bossy.
I am not bossy. I have leadership skills.
Oh my
Ladies,
God.
let him know. These are leadership.
She's so bossy.
As you were saying, Robert?
Yes, thank you, Shekinah. So, Mayor, when it comes to things like policing in the African American community, as you know, there's a huge thing right now with the ordinance on talking about police brutality and trying to make sure that people understand what's going on with that. And people are feeling like they want more from their city. how do you suggest that they, when they feel like you're doing more stuff downtown than in their community, what would you say to the critics on, hey, this is what we're doing? Because you've been in office for 15 years.
Right.
And so they're like, what are we doing now? Like, what's the new vision, or what's the vision that we can get on board with, right?
Right.
When you first came in office, the people that voted for you they were probably, let's say the people who were 30 when you came in office are now 45.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have some new 30-year-olds coming in, right? The people who were 15 when you came in office are now 30. They've maybe voted for you once or twice, right? And so I think what's the plan to reach these new people? And they feel like something like police, like an ordinance for police brutality, is something that is affecting not just people of color, but that's good for the city. What do you say to the critics?
Well, certainly, I think the issue has not been as much about, it's been more about racial bias. And, what about pretextual stops and that sort of thing? To me, those should never happen. And that's why we are implementing a further extended version of bias training, not only to public safety officials, but to all of our city employees. And I'm suggesting our elected officials go through it as well. We all have to understand that there's bias out there, there's implicit, there's explicit bias. Some people don't even realize that they have it. And I think through this training, they're going to do it. We have to make sure, when you've got nearly 400 people out on the street, I would say generally speaking, they're well received. I go to neighborhood meetings with them all the time, and we have that neighborhood-based service delivery that we have extended. We do summer programs with basketball up in Evelyn Davis, and we're doing over in ML King, and that's to not only have a hamburger and shoot some baskets, but let our public safety people get more connected with the community, because we want them to trust them and work with them.
Yeah.
And that's how we as a city can move it forward. But we also have to find ways, whether it again is through our Listen DSM idea, more ways for people to connect with concerns so that we can respond. And when I get a call at my office, we send it to the right department, or I call them if it's not quite clear what they want. I'll call them directly. And that's what they need. They have to have that kind of trust. I've got to tell you, when I entered office, this city was a different place. It was kind of a dark place. We had we were shutting down street lights, laying off workers, cutting services, and trying to find things. We have turned that around. We've lifted up the neighborhoods. We have expanded our job opportunity in Des Moines. We used to have 45,000 people working just in downtown. Now it's 80,000 people working in downtown. We're growing jobs on the south side, on the northeast side, over off Hubble, and business opportunities. We're looking at it over off 6th Avenue and 2nd Avenue. We're looking at it out by the airport. We want every sector of town to have an opportunity, and that's what that whole Plan DSM, where are we going to work? Where are we going to play? Where are we going to get our needs met? And how do we together work to make that happen and lift everybody up, and especially some small businesses. I'm a small business guy. That's where I came from in my life and my career. And there's a lot of young people with some great ideas out there.
Absolutely.
And need to have opportunities. And so let's give them a chance. And we're going to put a couple $100,000 immediately into sort of a deal through Civil and Human Rights, and which I think is a great idea, and to give sort of startup funds to with a great idea and vet it. They're going to have to make a case for it, because you can imagine there's going to be a lot of ideas come out.
Thank you so much.
Kind of final question. It's your turn now.
I saw our producer say that we had 2 minutes left, and I wanted to respect that time.
Whoa.
But the last question, I would say, like lightning, I guess, 1 minute. You have served for a while, and you've seen the city grow, and you've seen jobs come back, and you've seen downtown expand, you've seen neighborhoods expand with their businesses, as well as us accepting growing populations, and we don't look the same way we did 15 years ago.
Absolutely.
What would you say is most important for our city right now? As the leader of the council, I feel like, I've never been a mayor, but I feel like your role is to more govern the council, try to keep the peace and keep us moving forward in a progressive way. And you have a good view of all the things that are going on. So knowing what has happened in the past 15 years, being aware of Plan DSM and future to move the city forward, what is the most important piece for our city? We have listed some options of building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts. If not either of those, what is your most important thing?
Well, so I think where people live and where people work is so important. So neighborhoods, I think, is our number one focus. And whether it's downtown, whether it's all over town, how do we connect, again, people to places? I also have to tell you that is we think about all those opportunities and what it is and what it means, we have to continue to get that input. We have to know that our citizenry understands what we're doing and why we're doing it. That's why we had all those community meetings around what we're going to do with a local option sales tax, why we met on Plan DSM, why we met on Move DSM. In the Parks Department piece, Live DSM, we did outreach in the community. It's the citizens that have to feel good about where we're going and what we're doing. So we need to continue to reach out to them. I think Des Moines is in a great place, and we have come a long, long way, but we've got more work to do, and I've been the leader for that, and it's that engagement with the citizens and with the council and with the businesses. It's all of us working together that are going to make it happen. We need a uniter, not a divider.
I agree.
Leading.
Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in. You're tuned in to the Urban Impact Show. We just did our first segment with Mayor Frank County, and he is running for re-election. Don't forget to vote.
And where can people get more information about you, Mayor County? Website, Facebook, Twitter. County for Des Moines?
County for Des Moines.
County for Des Moines. December 3rd?
December 3rd.
December 3rd. Runoff. We'll be right
Day
back.
after tomorrow.
We're taking a 90-second break. We'll have our second guest. Please invite your friends and family. You're tuned in to the Urban Impact Show. Let's get it. And we are back. Welcome back to the Urban Impact Show. You have Shekinah and I, as we continue this show, talking about the importance of voting in this runoff election that is happening on December 3rd.
Yes.
I want to make sure you get it in your minds. If you showed up to vote on November 5th?
5th, yes.
Yeah, if you showed up to vote, we need you to show up and vote again. If you didn't show up to vote November
Rain,
5th,
sleet, snow, tornado.
we need you to come out and vote
vote.
again. So we have we just had Mayor Frank County in, and he kind of laid out his vision, and now we have his opponent, Mr. Developer, Mr. Jack Hatch. And so we wanted to offer the same time and opportunity to Mr. Jack to kind of make his case. So Jack, first order of business, can you tell the people a little bit about you, who you are, and give us some info about you?
Sure, Rob. Thank you for inviting me, and Shekinah, thank you for bringing this to the community. What brought me to Des Moines was Drake University. I was 18 years old. I grew up in Connecticut. And Drake offered kind of the urban university I was looking for. I was in track in high school, ran track, and had a couple of good races. I came to Drake, was on the team, and in the first event of the first meet, I blew out my knee.
Wow.
My ankle, excuse me. So that ended my track career. So I got involved in student activities and organized a couple of big things at Drake. One was the first hunger hike in Iowa in April of 2019. So with that, I just started my pledge and my commitment and to public service, and from there got a master's degree, and then did a variety of employment opportunities.
And that was April of 19...
I graduated in May of 72. So I've been here for 51 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm the younger of the two candidates for mayor. So you have an opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, we both are proud Drake graduates, so we are happy to hear
terrific.
that. You went to Drake as well. So we talked a little bit on the Urban Impact show previously. We did a school board election show, and also talked about the other election. Obviously, they were combined this year. Previously, turnout numbers have been super low, like 7%. This year, we're looking at like 20% runoff. We're hoping for even more than that on December 3rd. But we talk about there are people out in our community that feel that they have been overlooked. They have been overlooked, not just by electeds, but by the people that try to come into their community and establish things. And as a developer, I think that can have some relation to your line of work. How do you plan to engage those voters or engage those people if you are elected as mayor of the city? And even prior to that, during the entire campaign time, how do you keep those people engaged? How do you let them know, I do hear what you're saying, and I'm going to take your concerns to the council, and that will be represented?
Well, one of the things that my wife and I build affordable housing. We build it in Des Moines and 4 other cities. Our most recent affordable housing project is in Newton, Iowa, where we were selected as the best affordable housing project in the state this year. So we build things to last, and we build things that people think are pretty good. But we also build it in areas that other developers don't. So we were the first downtown housing development in the city in 2003. And then we went to the East Village. And then we went to King, a neighborhood, Mondamon Presidential, which is right in the midst of the inner city. We are on the south side as well. And in every instance, we go to the neighborhood first. We don't build if we're not welcome. And so we build that communication. So we go in and talk to the neighborhood associations, the neighbors, the businesses, the leaders, 6, 8, 10 months before we get serious about looking at financing. And that's what we plan on doing. Because your initial question was, people feel detached, disenfranchised. And they are. But it's two things. There's a push and a pull. The system doesn't always reach out to them. There's a lot of voter detachment now. And also, voters need to get more engaged. Now, we can try to motivate them, but we have to talk about things that they want. And that's been the thing about this election. I came into this election late in September. He was a popular mayor. People feel Des Moines is doing well. But what we found out was that while downtown is doing well, the rest of the neighborhoods felt neglected. They felt ignored. And I didn't match the mayor on the vote on November 5th because I'm a nice guy, or that I'm popular, or that I'm a builder. I matched them because the people saw an opportunity to voice their opinion that they were being neglected. And so the need to choose a mayor who's going to not just speak well about an issue, but actually has a plan to do something about it. When we talk about a welcoming city, we have to be more than just a compassionate city. We have to pass an ordinance that was taken off the table by the mayor that really speaks to how we engage people and how we commit ourselves as a city to opening up to all immigrants and working with the federal government and seeing how we can avoid confrontation. So I think once people see that we are actually going to do something about it, they'll get more engaged.
So you said, I'm sorry, quick follow-up. You said you started your campaign in September. So how have you engaged those populations that may feel disenfranchised from government to become more involved, to get your message about voting for you?
Well, for example, I've been to 4 urban churches, African-American churches in general. We're going to the synagogue later this evening. We're going to all the neighborhood meetings. We also go and start door knocking on in areas that normally people haven't been, sending our canvassers out, and so that really engages us in a lot. There's a lot There's a lot going on, but we also let people know that they could always contact us.
Okay.
Jack, there is a lot going on. And I've seen you at church. I saw you at church all day today. since 8 a.m. this morning, right? And I feel like that's really good. But there's a group of people who's like, it's not enough because people show up to black church when it's convenient for them. People come get the black vote when it's convenient for them, and then they don't hear back from them. What do you say to some of the critics who say, Jack is only doing this because, he wants to profit from his developing business, or or something, or the fact that he's in this because there is something else there that we don't know of. What do you say to the critics?
Well, first of all, the fact that I'm a developer of affordable housing, I guess, and because I'm a business person, I'm suspect. The fact is that I made the pledge when I announced that if I get elected mayor, I will no longer do any more development in Des Moines. I'll be looking at other towns and cities to develop my business. But I think the critics are somewhat right when you see politicians, especially white politicians, going to black churches, before the election, people get suspect. And you break that down by just being human and knowing the outreach that you've had over the years. People have known me for many years. But I told the congregation at King of Kings on East 15th this afternoon that I hope that they just don't have a group of white men coming to their church in 4 years. That we really, it's a responsibility that I have as a politician and as a mayor, if I'm honored to get elected, to reach out and recruit more minorities for all positions, and not just running for elected office. For example, LULAC just released last week that 90% of the employees of Des Moines are white. They have 1,400 employees, and 90% are white, 75% are male. That doesn't represent our community. So I'm pledging that we're going to focus on employees that represent our community, and we'll do it at a fast and an accelerated rate. We will look at, and we will recruit better. We will engage the applicants in maybe different kinds of tests and qualifications, so that we're not lowering the standards, but we're approaching it in a different way, so we can get more people in city government and set a standard for the rest of the state. This is an awful declaration that 90% of city employees are white, when 66% of the population in the city of Des Moines is white.
Right. I think that's a cool thing to be after and to look for, also in leadership, because sometimes you may bring you add some flavor to the mix, but the flavor stays at the bottom. We want the flavor to be at the table. If you're not at the table, you're on the table, right?
Well,
Robert,
mix it up a little bit.
One of the reasons
turn. Okay.
One of the reasons I was late in getting into this race is because there were some people who were thinking of running for mayor, who were persons of color, and so that's why I waited for those people to make the decisions on what they wanted, and then there were women who were considering it. So I was waiting for that group to decide, hey, what do you want to do? Last thing you want are two white-haired white men running for the highest office in the city. And I knew that was a disadvantage, and no one came forward. And it's not that no one came forward, but it was the ideas. I mean, we went after the fact that the city is really lacking its leadership on the water quality and the water distribution. We have a huge problem with nitrates entering our water. We have the largest nitrate removal system in the world, and we're doing nothing, literally nothing, to clean up our water from all the abuse that's coming from the farming agricultural industry. That's what Bill Stowe and the Waterworks were trying to do. So I have a plan to create a regional watershed basin authority so that we can start looking at how we can decrease the amount of nitrates and phosphates and other chemicals in our water. We're looking at also at how we have a better relationship with our schools. When I said that we were going to improve our relations with the schools, and we're going to put the superintendent and the president of the Board of Education as ex officio members of the school board, of the city council, people looked at me and said, why are you doing that? And I would say simply, because most of the young families that want to move to a location make the decision based on the schools, the quality of the schools. Now, we have great schools, but we have to make sure they're competitive with our suburban schools. And that should be one of the main focus of our city council and our mayor. So we're going to start looking at education as another level of focus, so that we could assist and make this community a better community. So those are the ideas that we've had on the water and education that has not been discussed before.
So I heard you talk a little bit about development and then a little bit about education, how to mix things up. My question is, what do you think is more important for our city right now? Building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing existing, better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts? Or if you don't feel like one of those fits, feel free to give us another in 60 quick seconds.
60 quick seconds. I believe all of them are important. All of them are necessary. You were good at identifying them. And I have a plan.
Okay.
What we want to do is...
We haven't heard that before. I have a plan.
I have a plan for that.
Got a plan.
Everybody has a plan.
And this plan is called Neighborhood Town Squares.
Okay.
We have Merle Hay Road, Eastgate, East Town, Southridge Mall that are empty or getting empty. They're struggling. Well, why don't we just recreate those and put them and create and ask for developers and investors and commercial interests to invest in a town square, where you start bringing in townhouses, apartments, commercial buildings, retail space, restaurants, entertainment, parks, and then you have the growth, not just in downtown Des Moines. You'll have 4 downtown Des Moines. You have 4 town squares, like Winterset and Newton, or even up in Ames, Boone, Adel. They have beautiful towns, small town squares where the industry grows and people feel that they have part of a community. That's where I think the vision that I have for Des Moines in the future.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jack. We have come to the end of our segment with you. We want to be respectful of time, so we've come to the end of our segment with you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
Thank you.
To be here.
I hope to come back as mayor and continue this.
Yes.
There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there's so much. There's so much that we need to discuss. So much that needs to happen in our city, and we're hopeful that whomever gets the seat, that we're able to have these types of conversations openly, publicly, so that our viewers will know what's going on in their city and why they're paying taxes like good old
36% of your tax dollar goes to support your local government.
Yes, it does.
Jack, before you go, how can people get more information about your campaign, just more information on you before they go and vote on December 3rd?
They could, we're on the Facebook.
Yes, Facebook.
And the Facebook is Patrick.
Jack Hatch for mayor.
Jack Hatch for mayor. That's what it is. Perfect. Jack Hatch for mayor, or that's it. Jack Hatch for mayor.
Jack Hatch for mayor. You know where to find them, people.
Hey, you tuned into the Urban Impact Show. Thanks for watching. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our next runoff guest.
90 seconds.
90 seconds. We'll be right back. See you soon.
Thank you so much. And we are back. Hopefully that was 90 seconds. We are working very hard to be people of our word here. And you are watching the Urban Impact Show. We are talking with runoff candidates who are running for our local elections here in Des Moines. As Rob mentioned earlier, a runoff occurs when neither candidate receives over 50 or 51%?
50 plus 1.
50 plus 1 of the votes. And we didn't have that happen, so we have another opportunity to voice our opinion on who should be leaders in our community on December 3rd, coming up very soon. Rain, sleet, or snow, or tornado, we know you will show up. Joining us now is Jackie Easley McGee, who is my link sister. Go girl.
The choice is Easley.
The choice is Easley. And she is running for Des Moines Council member at large. Jackie currently sits on the Planning and Zoning Commission for the city and has been a long-standing public servant in other areas. I'm going to let Jackie tell us a little bit about herself. So, welcome to the Urban Impact Show, Miss Jackie.
Thank you, Shekinah. Thank you, Will. It's great to be back with you. We had a wonderful interview a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
With the NAACP Town Hall.
Yes, we did.
So I kind of know your style. I kind of know how y'all rock.
We're fun.
You
fun
are
people.
fun. You are a fun group.
Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and why you are running for the role on City Council.
Well, Yes, my journey actually started as a homegrown native of Des Moines many, many years ago. And I have had the privilege to grow up or to live in 5 neighborhoods in Des Moines. I started out in the Drake neighborhood. And as a child of Drake, or living with Drake parents, learned early on that it was my obligation to give back to the community. And so in adulthood, I began volunteering at organizations such as the YWCA of Des Moines, Wilkie House, where I learned to swim, and other organizations in the community that gave me the nurturing that I needed to understand how important neighborhoods are to our city. And after that, I was privileged and honored to be elected to the Des Moines School Board, where I served 2 terms. I served as president of the board, and I really felt that that was the grounding that I got in terms of being able to impact, of course, the 36,000 children that matriculate in the Des Moines schools, but also their families. And I think some of the achievements while I served on the school board, the Martin Luther King holiday became a reality during my tenure on the school board. Worked with the Black Ministerial Alliance to assure that came to, and we were the first school district in Iowa to celebrate that holiday. I'm also very proud of the fact that the Forest Avenue Library evolved under while I was on the school board, and that was a part of a great opportunity to learn from a mentor named Evelyn Davis how organizing and how ground roots neighborhood work is important. So she asked me to serve on the Mid-City Vision Coalition, where the Forest Avenue Library sits currently was school district property. So I had to work with the Des Moines School Board to make sure that we could transfer that property to the city of Des Moines, and then that set into motion the funding, and so the Forest Avenue Library that you see today is a result of that community work, and also the Grub YMCA.
I know, that's right.
Add to that. And yes, because the Mid-City Vision Coalition was interested in health, education, and general well-being of our community, so we wanted to combine all aspects. So my own children were growing up during this time, so I retired from the school board and finished raising my family, and then a few years ago was appointed to the city's Plan and Zoning Commission. Now the Plan and Zoning Commission, for those who are unfamiliar, is the advisory council to is the advisory commission to the city council. We, what I call, vet almost all of the development decisions that the city council acts on. So for the past 3 years as chair of the Plan and Zoning Commission, I really have had firsthand involvement in some of the major projects in our city in terms of weighing how they affect the financial well-being of our city, how they affect neighborhoods in terms of, will this revitalize growth? And also in my particular area of passion is affordable housing. Are we able to promote zoning code and requirements that allow affordable housing in this community? So I know that's probably longer than an introduction, but I just wanted to kind of show you the journey that I've been on and why I want to use that experience to bridge gaps that I believe that the city currently needs someone with a background like I have at the council level.
Jackie, we're probably not supposed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Oh, Lord. Where's the producer?
Stop him now. I'm a big fan of yours. I've watched you, whether in church, watched you with the health committees, whether it was through NAACP or even the AKA. Right? And so I know that health is a big, big, big part of what you're doing. There's a lot of people who suffer with mental illness that are disenfranchised or not engaged in voting. There's a group of people out there who have felt left out, and a lot of them are people of color. So what is your plan, or what are you currently doing right now to involve those people in the decision-making process of either the campaign, and what is your plan that, if elected, that you will continue to reach out to those individuals so that they can also make sure that their voice is being heard and that they're involved in the decision-making process of the council?
Well, you are correct. This is a lifelong desire of mine to erase the stigma that many have, unfortunately, in our community about mental illness.
Yes.
Now, I have a healthcare background, and we all know how important it is to support and empathize with individuals. And when individuals have physical health conditions, it's not uncommon for individuals to want to provide support. But unfortunately, when individuals have mental health illness, and that can be anywhere from anxiety disorders, post-traumatic stress syndrome, which a lot of our newcomers are refugees from our African communities because they're from countries that have had strife, strife, suffer from, to probably more serious schizophrenia, bipolar diagnosis. So you are right. These individuals have been disenfranchised from so many aspects of our society, many times unable to even get or sustain employment, or even be able to matriculate in school, and then cannot, obtain educational opportunities. And sometimes they're even isolated from their families, and that's, and we haven't talked about the homeless crisis, but it does feed into homelessness in our community.
Yeah.
So this is not a new path for me. I have worked in many areas related to, number one, I believe we should erase the stigma. We should talk freely about mental illness and how it impacts all areas. And you're correct, many of these individuals do not feel they have a voice, and thus are not able to lobby for these issues, come to governmental meetings, to even to help them achieve certain status that they need in society, and help them in general with how to get the help they need. So I don't know if you're leading to this, but one way that I believe that the city should take responsibility is many of us supported the local option sales tax last spring to bring increased revenue to our community. Certainly we need to look at our infrastructure. Yes, we've got to eliminate those potholes, and we've got to repair our streets, and we've got to have safe routes for pedestrians. But on the other hand, we need robust city services, because having safe streets will not allow particular mentally challenged folks a road to anywhere. I want to make sure that we have a mobile mental health crisis unit that is able, particularly for our youth, that is able to address some of these needs, so that we're not just at the crisis moment calling the police and incarcerating folks, or not finding out what the illness is. And in addition to that, we need cultural competency training for our first responders. I indicated that many of our newcomers, our immigrant refugees, have special needs in terms of the background that they are coming from. Yeah. So we need to have first responders that are alerted and understand those needs. So that would be, yes, the number one goal of mine is to make sure that mental health is addressed from a city responsibility.
Roger's looking up, smiling at himself.
No, I'm smiling because that blue she got on is popping right now. It is popping.
Look at you.
It is popping right now.
Miss Jackie, what would you say to some of your critics out there, or people that just haven't decided who they're going to vote for the at-large team? I don't really know him. I don't really know her. I'm not completely ready to vote on December 3rd. What would you say to those people that are just more critical and just, I don't really know, I haven't fully jumped on board with, I'm sorry, I'm hitting you. I haven't fully jumped on board with the easy way.
or the choose, the easily.
Choose easily.
The choice is easily.
The choice is easily.
Well, first of all, I would say please come and visit our Facebook page where you can learn more about my Bridging the Gap, some of the issues that I'm discussing today. But finally, I think I have heard people myself say, even 2 hours ago, how disappointed they are in the tenure of the campaign, not necessarily mine, but in the tenure of our race thus far. And I want to share a very brief interaction that I had 3 months ago with a young woman, 17 years old, who was excited to meet me. I actually think she thought I was a presidential candidate, and I had to say, no, I'm running for city council.
I mean, it's so many people running for president.
I know.
Who knows?
Well,
You could have been.
it was the way that I was introduced
You and
to
Renee
her.
Hartman, let's put that ticket together.
She'll love that. So when she finally found out it was city council, but I also went to her school. We went to the same high school, and I looked like her. And she never met a local candidate that looked like me that went to her high school.
Yeah.
So she's been following me during this campaign. We even went and registered together because she was 17 years old at the time,
How cool.
but she turned 18 before November 5th. So I say to all of you who are somewhat disenfranchised with what you feel is the tenure of this race, we've got people who are looking at us and determining this is our future. And so I've modeled my campaign on Micah. Can I do religious stuff? The words from Micah, which is act justly, love
6:8.
mercy,
Come through, Jackie. Preach it.
love mercy, and walk humbly.
We talk about God all the time on this show.
I cannot.
I wasn't sure about this one.
Oh, absolutely. You,
But
you-
really,
you can
those-
shout on this show.
Okay. Well, I am shouting that if you
I know that's right.
agree with me that servant leadership
Yeah.
is what we need not only in this country
Yes.
but in this city, then please look at me because I'm walking those words or trying to walk those words every day.
I know that's right.
Yes,
That's good.
Real quick, we literally have a minute and a half left. So, just when you get the seat, if elected, what's the number one priority for, I would say, people that will look at you and say, all right, she looks like me. What is she going to do in that seat? What is she going to do different for us? How's she going to make the way or pave the way? That's some heavy stuff to carry, right? So how are you, what's your number one priority once you reach that level if elected?
Well, I've already mentioned 2 areas: affordable housing, mental health. Finally, I think that all people want to feel that this city is safe where they live, where they work, and where they drive. I believe in the community policing model that is in a proposed city ordinance where we look at pretextual stops, where we look at data collection on those stops, and where we look at a community policing board, which would have representatives from the Civil and Human Rights Commission, of course, law enforcement, of course, and other citizens. But individuals in this community need and want to feel safe in Des Moines. We cannot go along any longer, as the One Economy report states, with a tale of two cities.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much. Huge shout out to Miss Renee Hartman, because city councilwoman who's really been pushing West Des Moines, who's really been pushing for you, and also the work that she's doing as the first elected African American female in West Des Moines, and you are now striving to be on this council. One thing I love about it is you're running for at large. I mean, this is almost just as big as the mayor election, right? Because you need the same people that turn out for the mayor election to turn out for the at-large.
Don't stay home.
Right. So, December 3rd, thank you all.
One more thing, your information.
Yes.
Where can people get more information about your candidacy so that they can make an informed decision on December 3rd?
Jackie for Des Moines, DSMAL. Is that how you do Facebook?
Yes.
Okay, you can tell that's not my-
We know. Campaign Trail Strong. We got you. We got you. Jackie is on Facebook.
Yes.
Yes. So you check her out on Facebook and get more information
Jackie
about
for
her.
Des Moines. Letter, the number 4.
Yes.
Yep.
The number 4.
Yeah.
Yep, the numero 4.
Yeah.
So thank you all for tuning in. We have one more guest coming up, and then Shekinah and I is going to do a little wrap up session here. Jackie Easley, the choice is Easley. She's running for City of Des Moines Council at Large.
Yes.
So please, we've already heard from Mayor Frank County, his opponent Jack Hatch, and now we just heard from Miss Jackie Easley McGee.
I think it's also important for them to know we extend invitations to everyone.
Correct.
We are an equal opportunity kind of
So-
gig, you know, and so
Interviewers.
yes.
Yes.
And if you do not see a candidate on the show today, that is because the candidate could not attend. They sent us a message and declined the invitation, or whatever the case may be. Just know that if you don't see a candidate, we are not picking and choosing specifically what candidates come and don't come.
Correct.
We extend that invitation to everyone, and those that are able to come do come, and those that are not do not.
Correct. That's a good, man. She put that so eloquently. Like I was like, man, how we gonna fit this in there? So thank you, Shekinah Young.
Thank you.
Hey, we'll be right back. We have one more guest coming up. We'll be right back. 90 seconds.
90 seconds.
Hold us to that 90 seconds. Start calling us and emailing us. Let's do it. Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Urban Impact Show. I'm one of your hosts, Shekinah Young.
And I'm Rob Johnson.
Robert Johnson, and we are talking with runoff election candidates today. As Rob mentioned earlier, a runoff occurs when the candidates involved do not reach 50% plus 1 of the votes, and so they go back to the people and say, what do you want to do? On December 3rd, we as a community here in Des Moines have an opportunity to voice our opinions about what should happen. Rain, sleet, snow, or tornado, we need to be at the polls on December 3rd.
December 3rd, all day. We need you to come out.
All day. Make it happen.
Yes.
Our next guest is Councilmember Linda Westergaard. She is a council member for Ward 2, kind of like the northeast section of the city. If you don't know whether or not you're in that ward, we can get some descriptors for you from Linda about her boundaries. But she is up on the ballot for December 3rd and wants to chat with us a little bit about who she is, why she's seeking re-election, and what she hopes to bring and sustain within our city.
Great.
Welcome to Urban Impact Show.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes.
FYI, big shout out to Linda because she was the very first person to respond.
Shout out to Linda.
She's the very person. As a matter of fact, she was so passionate about being here. I think she called me 3 times in a row. And I was like, and I texted her and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm at an event. Like, I'm gonna call you back. And then I missed her again. And then the next day I called her and she was like, yep, I'll be there. And I was like, this is great. Like, this, so
and that's not something we take lightly.
Correct.
You know, because while we are not the CNN of the world, we definitely try to engage very well with the urban community here in Des Moines. And this is our capital city. We have a large urban population here. And sometimes those groups, our groups that we affiliate with, disenfranchised from populations or from decision making or from things that go on, and so we want to make sure that we can bring that information to them, so we don't take lightly your 3 calls back and your first to RSVP. We really do appreciate that.
We do appreciate that.
Yeah.
So real quick, can you just introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, and kind of what you're running for, so that the people will know.
Absolutely. I am running for re-election in the Ward 2. And just to give you an idea, Ward 2 is basically the Interstate 235 on the south. And then we go to the river on the west, so it goes over to the Oak Park neighborhood. City limits on the north and city limits on the east. So pretty large area.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the area. Actually, this is my neighborhood. I grew up on East Holcomb, so right there by North High School. And I attended North High School, graduated from North, and
Shout out to the
Polar bears.
Yes, polar bears, yes. And then after college, my husband and I moved back to the east side, and we've been in the same home over on East 23rd for 41 years.
Oh, wow.
So that's a long time for somebody to be in one house.
It is.
But we've been there. We continue to live there. We raised our 2 daughters there. And I have one daughter that went to North High and one daughter that went to East High. So I have the high schools covered. I'm well acquainted with the high schools.
How long have you been in office?
4 years. So I'm just finishing my first term. And that's why I'm asking for another 4 years. We still have a lot to do.
Cool. Speaking of having more to do, we talk about how to engage voters, how to engage them once in office in the decision-making process, and how to engage them in your campaign.
Yes.
A little bit earlier, we mentioned people that may feel disenfranchised from the process. How are you engaging those groups in your campaign, in addition to coming to Urban Impact Show, which we appreciate? But how are you engaging them in your campaign, and then if reelected, how will you engage them moving forward throughout the process?
I have been very engaged in my community my entire adult life. I mean, I grew up in high school being engaged in things, and I have continued to be engaged the last 20 years. I came up through the neighborhood association. I helped start our neighborhood association 20 some years ago to address some issues that we were having in my own neighborhood. So I grew up in the neighborhood associations. I served on the Board of Adjustment for 13 years, and it's really important for me to emphasize that we need to get involved. I encourage people to attend neighborhood meetings. There's an application online that you can apply to be on boards and commissions. We always have openings on those boards and commissions. We encourage people. When I go to neighborhood meetings, I tell people, go online, find something that interests you and apply for it. So we have to engage everyone. But I attend every neighborhood meeting. I attend every community event there is. At 5:30, there's a lighting of the carousel at Union Park. I'll be there. So if there's any event in Ward 2, you can find me there. Neighborhood associations, I go to every single meeting that I possibly can. And it's interesting, when I was running for my first term, I had a neighborhood leader say to me, she was the leader at the Martin Luther King Jr. neighborhood, and she said, you are going to be just like every other politician. You come when you want my vote, and then we never see you again. And I said, I promise that is not how I work. And I've been to, I think I've missed 2 of their neighborhood meetings, but I try to attend every meeting. I go to their events in the summer, when they have community events, things at the park, National Night Out, I am there. So I truly am a person that is out there in the community, and I do that for every neighborhood.
Yeah. Linda, this show, obviously, we're looking to reach a lot of people of color, right? That's the whole purpose of this. What I love about my co-hosts is we don't look to be impressionable, we look to be impactful, right? And so with that being said, reaching out to that community, you get reelected, what's more important? Is it building new homes and commercial infrastructure, or is it rehabbing and revitalizing the neighborhoods and the storefronts that we have?
Neighborhoods are my number one concern, because I grew up, I'm a neighborhood person. It is very bothersome to me to see empty storefronts and empty buildings. When I drive down East University, when I drive down East 14th, when I drive all through my ward, I see empty buildings, and that's very concerning to me. It's concerning because we have, our population in my own neighborhood, we have people that that can't get to the doctors. We don't have grocery stores. Our food deserts are very concerning to me, and it should be at the top of the priority that people in the neighborhoods are able to access the services and the items that they need. Food, medicines. For some, they have to walk a mile to get to a bus stop. That's nearly impossible for some people. It would be hard for me to walk a mile when it's 20 below to catch a bus to go to work.
That's a good point.
We just need to be out there, and I have been working on this for 4 years. We've made baby steps. I'm hoping that we can make huge steps in the next 4 years. But food deserts, that's very concerning.
Yeah.
We, as one neighborhood group that I've been in, we've installed about 30 free little libraries because we are fortunate. We have 2 libraries in Ward 2, but a lot of people can't get to the library. They don't have cars. Many of my residents are working 2 and 3 jobs. They can't go during those hours. So we have installed little free libraries where we put library books in there, and kids and anybody can come and help themselves. But we need to be taking things into our neighborhoods.
Councilmember Westergaard, what would you say to the critics of yours out there that exist, or the people who just haven't decided how they're going to vote on December 3rd, rain, sleet, snow, or tornado? What would you say to them to help them be best informed of why they should support you? I live in Ward 4, so I won't be voting for Ward 2 because you can't vote if you don't live in that ward. But what would you say to them to help them jump on board?
I have been making phone calls for quite some time. Call me, engage me in conversation. It's real easy to be out there on social media and to be a bully. We can be behind our keyboards and we can say all kinds of things. And I would say to my critics, pick up the phone and let's talk. Let's sit down and have a cup of coffee. Let's have real live conversations. So you can learn about me, I can learn about you. I want to know what have we done or not done that has dissatisfied you. But we need to work together. We need to build better relationships in our city. And I see that with elected officials, and we need to continue building relationships, and let's talk. Let's talk. Let's find out what's really happening.
Do you have a plan on you win re-election, right? What's next? What's the vision? What's the goal? Like, if why not somebody new, right? Like if the board that we have in place right now, you all haven't made a decision on the police ordinance, right? There's been talks about the water problems, and the board has been in place. Somebody could say, why not put new people in there, right? How do you address that besides them picking up the phone? Like, how do you say to them, this takes time? Like, how do you tell a voter that looks like Shekinah and I, that, hey, we're working on some stuff? How do you invite them to the table and bring them in? How do you do that?
I hold coffees once a month where I invite people, and it's different with social media because I go out there on the Nextdoor neighbor app and on Facebook and say, I'm going to have a coffee. But I want to engage with you. We need to hear what our residents are thinking and what they're wanting. And that's what's so helpful about the coffees. And we can sit down, we can talk about it. If there's anything going on in Ward 2, we have public meetings where we try to send out the message. A lot of people that I represent, they may not have the internet. They may not have social media. So we need to do that by attending neighborhood meetings and putting it in the city source, but saying, we're going to have a neighborhood meeting. We want to hear from you. We did that. We have a huge reconstruction project on Hubble Avenue. We held about 6 community meetings and said, tell us what you want.
Is that where the Kmart closed?
No, this is the Hubble Avenue.
Okay.
That's being reconstructed, adding lots of safety issues. We got a safety grant to help with that. But we held public meetings and said, tell us what you think. Do you like this stoplight here? We need to hear from you.
Yeah. Councilmember Westergaard, how can they get in contact with you? How do they learn about these the monthly coffees? How do they learn more about your campaign? Where can they get your info?
I'll give you my phone number.
Oh, okay.
It's 515
Yes.
988
Yes.
4288.
You have heard it here.
And
She has given the number.
talk to everybody. So you can call me. You can text me on that number. I have an email address, which is Westergaard, and my last name has 2 A's in the guard part. So it's Westergaard
Yes.
Linda at gmail.com.
Yes. She does respond. I'm a witness.
I don't give up.
Yes.
I didn't want to miss the opportunity.
And she definitely proved that.
Do you have a website or a social media page as well?
Yes, we do. We have a social media page, Facebook, and it is Linda Westergaard, DM City Council.
Okay.
And you can message me, you can send me you can post something online, you can send me a message, but I will absolutely get back to you.
Council member, if you win, we want to definitely have you back and definitely do more with
I want to come back.
Urban Impact
definitely.
Show, and maybe we do something downtown or something like that, or maybe we
In your ward.
Yeah,
Let's
in
find
your
a
ward.
coffee shop in your ward.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We're gonna
hang out.
We're gonna have a coffee shop
Yes.
right next door.
I know that's right.
Well, hey,
So-
let's do it then. Let's make it happen. We
That's
wish you the
exciting.
best of luck to you.
Thank
Definitely.
you.
Thank
I
you so
appreciate it.
much for
Thank
your
you.
work on council.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
So we have
Thanks.
one
Feel
more
free to
guest.
contact me.
Yes. Councilmember Westergaard of Ward 2 has given us 5 different ways to contact her. So take heed of the 5 different ways. We have one more guest for you, and we will be back in 90 seconds.
90
You're watching
seconds.
the Urban Impact Show.
Let's do it. And we are back. Let me tell y'all, man, this 90 seconds, well, we on it. Let me tell you, we are on it.
We're literally running.
Yes. And I'm out of breath.
You didn't run far.
You gonna bust me out like
He
that?
did.
Skip? Dang.
I can't run. I've got sciatica, so.
Well, hey, thank you all for watching. You're tuned into the Urban Impact Show.
Yes.
Our show is really designed to bring you information that will impact urban communities. That's hint, the name Urban Impact Show.
Yes.
So we've talked to a lot of guests today where we're talking about the runoff election that is happening on December 3rd, where you should come out and vote. If you voted on November 5th, we need you to come back out on December 3rd. If you did not vote November 5th, we need you to come out and vote
December 3rd.
on December 3rd. So we need everybody we can. Runoff elections happens when one candidate does not receive 50+1% of the vote.
Yes.
Which means that it now pushes it to the top 2 candidates who then will participate in a month-long race, and the city will then return again to the polls to decide whom they would like to lead. So we are welcomed now by one of the Ward 2 candidates who is running for election against our last guest. And so we are excited to have Mr. Skip Moore in the building here for the Urban Impact Show.
And I'm excited.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming. So Skip, let's just jump it off real quick. Can you tell us a little bit about you? Like, who are you? Tell us why you're running and kind of give us some info.
Well, I worked for the city of Des Moines for 35 years. I was the first and only employee that's been elected to the council. I spent 8 years on the council. I got beat 2 years ago, miscalculation on my part, and constituents on the north and east side have been encouraging me to run for Ward 2 instead of waiting a couple more years for an at-large.
Yes.
And there's a lot of loose ends out there that need to be tied up, and I would spend 4 years getting those taken care of.
So you've been on the council before?
Yes, sir. 8 years.
Okay. And so while on that council, what was some of the stuff that you can attribute to your tenure?
Well, we're getting a new fire station on the northeast side, and that was due to me asking for a study, and the study came back and said, yes, we needed a new fire station out there. And we worked hard on that for my last year and got it basically set in stone. All the construction that you can see going on in Hubble Avenue, with the exception of 46th Street, was due to me asking for studies and asking for signalization and street widenings and stuff due to the deaths out there. Right before I left, I asked for a comprehensive traffic study on Easton Boulevard, which the city received in March of 2018, and I was a little bit worried about it, so I asked an assistant city manager last winter where it was at, and they couldn't find it, and I told them who they could go talk to, and they found it. You know the system. And now they're going to get going on Easton Boulevard from University out to the city limits.
Awesome.
I was charter member of the 4 Mile Watershed Authority, which is rocking and rolling now. I'm no longer on that, but now I'm on the State of Iowa Watershed Association, which oversees all of them. So we try and find funding for them.
Awesome.
So, Skip, what would you say to your critics out there? To people who may be critical or of your running for Ward 2, or for just people who just haven't decided yet who they're going to vote for the Ward 2 council member role?
Well, I've always been accessible. I was the first, I think the only city council member that had an email address with the city that was my name, Skip Moore, which I've never understood. First initial, middle initial, last name. If they wanted to get hold of me, they just put in Skip Moore and then whatever the city's address is, and they had me. My personal phone number cell was published. They wanted me to use the city number, and I said, no, I want them to be able to get hold of me. I've always been accountable for what I've done, and I was trained by Bill Stowe, and that's my claim to fame. If Shekinah called me and said there's a pothole in front of my driveway and I can't get it fixed, I will drive out there and I will be looking at it when I call Public Works and say there is a pothole here, and they know it. So then, they do get fixed. They don't go through the bureaucracy. They get somebody out there to fix them. And it's, I look at the city from 3 miles high, not 30 feet high. And I see problems and I go after them. And if the residents bring me a problem, I go after it.
Skip, piggybacking off of that, people say the time has passed. It's time for, new leadership. Let's go ahead on and keep what we got. What do you say to that?
I've got great experience. I've got unique knowledge of this city that even the mayor doesn't have, working for it for 35 years. And I was a municipal arborist. I was in and out of backyards where most city employees wouldn't be. That was a state law. I was looking for tree diseases and stuff. And the Papa John Art Park is a good example. I saw a lot of their artwork in their backyard before people even knew they had it. And I was back there looking at oak trees. So, it's... I can hit the deck running. I'm still doing for the city as it is. I'm getting people calling me all the time, and I either refer them to where they could go to get stuff done, or I take care of it myself.
How would you engage those that feel disenfranchised from the process? They feel that decisions are made in our local government without their input, even though it affects them. How do you engage them for your campaign? And then if elected for Ward 2 representative, how would you engage them moving forward?
Well, engaging them for the campaign is totally different than as a resident. And I'd rather talk about how I would engage the residents. I'm out there, I go to the neighborhood meetings. I've been involved in the neighborhood movement since the 80s. Been chair of numerous organizations. I was actually chair of the Martin Luther King Neighborhood Association. If they've got a need or a question or whatever, I'm available. And if they need help with the process, I lead them through the process. If I can do the process myself and make it quicker, that's what I do.
Good stuff. Thank you.
So what's more important, Skip? Building new buildings and commercial storefronts, or utilizing and rehabbing the current homes and storefronts that we have?
Well, we got two different issues there, and one is residential and the other one's commercial.
Yeah, let's address it.
I want to touch on commercial real quick.
Okay.
A lady by the name of Maureen McVeigh from Washington, D.C., she's one of the nation's top experts on economic development, was hired, and her purpose was to help us move businesses downtown back to street level. But she did a study of the whole city, and when she released her findings, it was down at the old Northwestern Hotel. I was one of two council members that attended that. And what she told us is in her findings, Des Moines has 50% more square feet in commercial space than we should have. And she said what we're going to see is when a new business opens here, there will be one closing over there. And she used the shops of Des Moines as an example. She said it was getting ready to open. And as those stores open out there, you're going to see stores around the metro closing, which we are seeing. And I think, we see empty storefronts. I think we need to work on filling those empty storefronts using incentives. Now, as far as residential goes, I understand this blitz on blight, but I've seen some houses that have been removed that are questionable. The neighborhoods are saying it's questionable. And I think that, number one, we ought to be hiring a structural engineer that comes in and looks at those buildings, and if they can be rehabbed, let's rehab them. If it's $35,000 to remove that house, let's use that $35,000 as an incentive for somebody to get in and rehab that house. We're removing the character of these neighborhoods. Now we've got several large tracts of annexed area, northeast, southeast, that yes, we need development in them, but when I was chair of the Des Moines Action Board, we asked for an audit on vacant lots in Des Moines, and that was back in the early 90s. Between the Des Moines and Polk County, there are 3,000 vacant lots. I think we need infill housing. I think we need to get that going. That uplifts the whole neighborhood, and it brings up the property values around them, and that's going to help us with our financial base.
Skip, you are zooming through these questions, okay? Because we usually only get to 3 or 4, and we try to be fair and balanced and ask everyone the same questions. But I feel like we have more time, and we're through our 3 or 4 questions.
We have like 5 minutes left. And it's funny that you said that, because I'm thinking to myself, like, man, this guy has a lot of freaking knowledge about like just the structural part of the city. And it's so interesting to me because out of everyone that we spoke to today, nobody really talked about this structural part, right? Like they talked about filling potholes, they talked about economic development or housing or something like that. But I mean, like just talking about some opportunities on bringing more jobs back to the city, right? And the council can do that. Let me ask this quick question. There's been a big thing about the police ordinance, right? What's your thought on that, or are you in support of that or no?
Are you talking about racial profiling?
Yes.
I'm a personal witness to racial profiling. You probably remember Claude. I'm not going to say that. He and I are buddies. He's African American. I was riding with him one night. We're going down East Court Avenue, and there's a squad car at a corner. And as we went by, Claude says, "Did you see that?" "See what?" He said, "That police officer." "Yeah, I saw him." "See the look on his face? He's going to pull us over." "Claude, you're not doing anything wrong." Well, he pulled out and he followed us. We got up by the Capitol. Claude was doing absolutely nothing wrong, and he pulled us over. And I was watching his speed. I was watching everything. He came up and got Claude's paperwork, and he and Claude were getting into it a little bit, and the officer finally bent over and looked and saw who was sitting there. He says, "Well, hi," and I said, "Hi." I was an employee at the time, but he recognized me from the gas island. He handed Claude's paperwork back and says, "You take it easy and you drive safe." And he got in a squad car, and he did a U-turn and went the other way. So I actually witnessed it. I really, truly believe that we need a ban on racial profiling through all city employees. And with it as an ordinance, if they are caught racial profiling, there's a lot more teeth to deal with them. And I just can't imagine. I know what they mean by driving while black. I can't imagine going out and getting my car and being halfway fearful driving around this city because of my skin color.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you.
That's
Thank
super interesting. Can you tell our viewers where they can get more information about you?
Well, they can call me on the phone personally,
Yes.
and my number is 515-681-9804. That's the same one.
681-9804.
Same one I had on the city council.
Same one. Call him on the phone. Skip
You can
Moore
call him
running.
on his cell phone.
Drake song. Robert is silly. Skip Moore is running for Ward 2 of Des Moines. City Council elections will be held December 3rd, and we want you all to know that that is where we need you to be. December 3rd, rain, sleet, snow,
Yes.
tornado,
Or
sunshine. Who knows what's going to happen with the weather, but
only the Lord.
we need you to be at the polls on December 3rd. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Skip.
Thank you.
For your 35 years at the city, 8 years on the council prior, and best of luck to you in this election.
Hey, Skip,
Thank
you don't
you.
know it yet, but we're friends now, just in case you were wondering.
On Facebook or in real life?
No, in real life.
Okay.
Like right now, this just happened.
Oh, they're friends.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys are tuned in to the Urban Impact Show. I'm one of your hosts, Rob Johnson.
And I'm Shekinah Young.
We'll be right back. Check. We are back.
Yes.
We are back. Thank you all for tuning in to the Urban Impact Show. I know it's been a minute since y'all have seen us because we were making sure that we were getting all of our things in order.
Yes.
And that we had, we had some great shows planned for you. And so I'm excited about what's happening and what we have coming in 2020 and for the rest of this year. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us. But today's show was simply about the runoff election. Runoffs, again, they occur when one candidate does not receive 50 plus 1% of the vote during a general election. Then it goes down to the top two of those candidates, and the city or the ward is asked to come out again and put their vote to use one more time to decide between those top two candidates.
Yes.
We've heard from Mayor Frank County,
Yes.
his opponent Jack Hatch. So those two are the two who will be participating and competing for your vote for mayor. We've heard from Jackie Easley and Jackie Easley McGee. The choice is Easley, and she is running for City of Des Moines City Council member at large.
Right.
And then we just heard from the two Ward 2 candidates, one up for re-election, which is Linda Westergaard. She is running for re-election, and Mr. Skip Moore, I call him Mr. 35 years plus Des Moines. And so you have some really amazing people running for office. Like Shekinah said earlier, we do extend the invitation to everyone.
Right.
So if you do not see any particular candidate, it's not because we did not invite them. We did not choose who came on this show and who didn't.
Yeah.
We invited everybody, and whoever came, that's who decided to make it important to reach you, our viewers, to know what they're talking about and what their vision is.
Yeah. I think with elections, it's so easy to feel like they're not here for me, they're not talking to me, they don't care about me. But I think as a community and as an individual, we have to make it known that our voice, our opinion, our vote matters, which I think candidates are aware of. And we have to show up at those polls, but also hold them accountable, right? Yeah. This is not some esoteric, far out conversation only for people with a certain income level.
Correct.
Or people with a certain status.
Correct.
People that own a home versus rent a home. If you breathe and are eligible to vote in this city, then this is a conversation for you. If you drive and have hit a pothole and your rim get bent, you know what I'm talking about. This is the conversation for you. If you go to your neighborhood and you say, I wish we had a grocery store. I wish there was a sidewalk here. I wish there was a business here. We need more jobs in our community. This is a conversation for you. You need to be at the poll December 3rd. Rain, sleet, snow, tornado,
or
sunshine.
Tornado. Correct.
Yes. at the poll, because that's a conversation about you. I really want to stress how important it is for everybody to be involved. We cannot afford to sit back and allow other people to make decisions about what happens to 36% of your tax dollar. I had more mature people in my family that would say, all I gotta do is stay black and die, right? Is what they used to say. All I gotta do is stay black and die. Now we have added taxes. You will pay some taxes. You happy about what's going on? Who cares? Give me your taxes. Mm-hmm. If you voted, who cares? Give me your taxes. So the question is, are you going to tell or put people in place to do things that benefit you with your taxes? We hope that answer is yes.
Yes.
We hope that on December 3rd, you find your polling location. Our Secretary of State's office within the state of Iowa is responsible for informing you about where to go to vote, how to get registered, all of those things. Look that information up. We online all the time anyway. Facebook, Snapchat, my chat, your chat, Google, all of it. I learned about TikTok.
Yeah.
All kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, they say that's a Chinese company trying to steal our information, though. That's what the government says.
Either way, you're online anyway, right? So let's just make some informed decisions about December 3rd. Don't lose heart, people. We can do this. If we want to see our city do better, be a great place for all of us to live, work, and play. That's the buzz phrase, right? Let's hold our electeds accountable, and let's put who we want in office. You've heard from lots of candidates. We got phone numbers, emails, everything above and beyond, right? And so we need to be there December 3rd.
Shekinah, one thing I've learned as we close out is a lot of people are hyped about these presidential candidates, right? Yeah. And I mean, so am I, right?
Including us.
Super hyped about, our girl. And so,
yes.
I'm really excited about the presidential candidate. But one thing I understand is that the president can only do so much for me while I'm living in Des Moines, Iowa.
That's true.
Now, federally, they can do some really great things federally and kind of nationwide.
Yeah.
But my house catches on fire, or my city or my street needs to be repaired, or my kid goes to school, or whatever the case may be, that's all controlled by city government.
It is.
And so I need to be able to put people in place who will not only help everybody in the city, but also meets my need.
Right.
Because as a taxpaying citizen, I still want to make sure that I'm able to drive without being pulled over by the police.
Right. It's not enough to just go and see the movie Queen and Slim. What are we going to do about it? I'm just saying.
Correct, right? And that brings, that brings up the whole topic of, making sure that we are out there voting, because the police force reports to the council. And the city manager, right? So we need to hold the council and the city manager office accountable, and the only way we can do that is by putting people in place who will put a city manager in place that will hold folks accountable.
Hot dog. December 3rd. You need to be there. So December 3rd, local elections.
Yes.
You have an opportunity to vote for a mayor. You have an opportunity to vote for an at-large council seat. And if you live in Ward 2, I wrote down those boundaries. 235, the river, and then city limits on the other two portions of that square. You have an opportunity to vote for a Ward 2 representative.
Yes.
It's a privilege and an honor to do that, and we have a responsibility, and I'm hoping that you guys can get out there. 36% of your tax dollar will go to support your local government, whether you vote or not. And I ask that you have a seat at the table so that you will not be on the table.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching. I'm one of your hosts, Rob Johnson.
I'm your favorite host, Shekinah Young.
She is the favorite. Don't forget. You can buy the Urban Impact. You can buy the Urban Impact Show T-shirt as well. We have those available for you by order. You can order those. We should have worn them today. We'll wear them next time.
Yeah, we'll be there.
You can order those. Also, please don't hesitate to donate to our cause. Anything helps, whether it be $1, $5, $10, $1,000, whatever you decide.
$1 million.
Yeah. Write us a grant. Help us out. We're looking to make sure that we're bringing this to you live. Huge shout out to our engineer, Mr. Matthew King.
Yes.
Our executive producer, Mr. Hal Dixon, and to our whole team, to Neil Thomas. Thomas, Nicole Hoskins,
Yes.
William Sims. Shout
All
out
right,
to
Will.
shout out to the whole team. Thank you all, and thank you to our viewers for always supporting us and watching us. And we'll be back next time.
Thank you. You're watching Urban Impact Show.
We out.